back to my channel. Before I start this video, I just wanted to say I'm praying and sending my prayers to both the people of Israel and the people of Palestine. So I just wanted to get that out of the way before, not get that out of the way, but I just wanted to say that before I started the video. And also happy Indigenous Peoples Day. So as you can tell by this video, I'm going to be talking about like some dramatic stuff, like trigger warning for death. I don't know like how you would say that, or trigger warning like death. That's not funny. One thing I have to say is I will like laugh a lot because it's like a nervous reaction, right? So if I'm laughing, it's not because I'm not like taking it seriously. It's because I'm like really nervous. Okay. So yeah, trigger warning. And if you need to click out of the video, I totally am with you. There's other videos you can watch. Yeah. So think about when you were a kid. Think about when you first started elementary school. Think about who your best friend was as a child. Do you still talk to that person? Do you hang out with them sometimes? Do you at least keep in contact on Instagram? Do you guys hang out ever? What are they doing? What does their life look like? I never will get to think about my childhood best friend in that way. And I guess that makes me sad. But we'll get to that. But yeah, just think about your childhood best friend and all the happy memories that you share with them. Okay. So I met my childhood best friend when I started preschool. I went to preschool at Alameda High, which is funny because I also attended Alameda High like 10 years later, almost 10 years later. But I think my freshman year of Alameda High, they had it where you could take a class and it was like you were a preschool teacher, but you were also like taking a class and it counted as credit. And they actually took that class out my sophomore year, but they had it my freshman year, and so I thought that was kind of cool that I went to school where I went to preschool and the preschool was still there. But anyway, so I went to preschool at Alameda High School, and I started in 1999. I was 4 years old. Wait, yeah. My son's in preschool, but he's 3, but he started early, I guess. I remember it being 1999. I remember when people were freaking out about Y2K and not understanding and not knowing what a computer was because we didn't have a computer. You know, my mom didn't have a computer. But I remember really, really liking school. And I remember like really liking boys and having a lot of friends. We used to make slime, but we didn't call it slime back then. We called it gack, and that was like glue, borax, is that what it's called? Borax soap, and food dye. I guess that was like the 3 ingredients, cornstarch maybe, and it would make slime. And but we called it gack because that was like the Nickelodeon term for it. And yeah, I just remember doing a lot of projects. I remember eating ants on a log, which is celery, peanut butter, and raisins. My son, you know, like as I had said before, my son goes to preschool now, and when I take him, I see things that I remember from preschool. Like, for example, they had these little figurines at his school where there's like a blind person or there's a person in a wheelchair, just all different types of people. And I remember those exact ones, they had those at my preschool, which is just crazy that I would remember that. Or but thinking back, I can close my eyes and I can remember like the day where my mom took me in and was like, "Oh, this is where you're gonna go to preschool," you know, and like I just remember that it must be one of, well, I remember things before that, but like this must be one of my first substantial memories. And like if I close my eyes, I could sort of picture the classroom still, and of course the outside yard because I couldn't remember that perfectly. That was, you know, my high school, but um, yeah. So met Amber. Um, it like kind of hurts my feelings to say her name, and like I can't listen to that 311 song because it makes me sad. Yeah, we were such good friends. Her mom was from the Philippines and her dad was a white guy, I think, but he wasn't really around. And she had a little brother, and I think maybe my senior year of high school he was a freshman because I remember seeing him sometimes around, or people would like mention him and I'd be like, "Oh, that's Amber's brother," you know, and wondering if he ever thought about me or like I don't know. He was really young. Well, we were really young, but he was even younger. So yeah, we met. I was four. We were 4 years old, and I don't know. We did everything together. We went to Waterworld. I don't think they still have Waterworld. Um, we went to, what is that called? Crows Canyon, which I don't even think they have that anymore. We would go to San Francisco. Back when San Francisco was the city, you know, like it's different now. And yeah, we would just do everything together. Go to the park, like go out to eat, like whatever. She was always around. I would go over to her house too, but she would always come over to mine and we would play. And um, we shared a special friendship like this. That was my first like best friend. Um, and then we went to elementary school and we still hung out for a few years, but you know, when you go to different elementary schools, it's just kind of like you kind of drift apart when you go to different schools, you know, and that's what happened to us. And then we just kind of lost contact, and I didn't think about her. I had a lot of stuff going on in my life, and like I think it stopped me from thinking about stuff because like for example, today or yesterday I heard a Hillary Duff song. I hadn't heard it in so long. I started listening to it. I was like, I knew every word, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, I used to love Hillary Duff. Like, why can't I think about that? You know, it's because my mind just blocks out like huge chunks of my life. And you know, even when I was like 14, I wasn't thinking about 1999. Just like how right now, like I'm not thinking about like 2008. Well, I am, but like I'm not really, you know. So yeah, we lost touch. I didn't have social media. My mom wouldn't let me have Facebook because at the time when I was 14, Facebook was like the thing. It was right before Tumblr really hit. But Tumblr, I think, was just starting to come out, but I didn't have a Tumblr at that point, and I didn't go out. I didn't have, like, in middle school, so, okay, we grew up on kind of, like, different sides of town, and I did not, like, really, I don't want to say I didn't have any friends in middle school, because I did have some, like, girlfriends and stuff, so that wouldn't be fair to say that I didn't have friends in middle school. But I guess what I should say is, like, I wasn't the most sociable person. And I did get bullied a lot in middle school. I hated the middle school I went to. It was a bunch of preppy white kids. It was just like the worst time to be a middle schooler because it was the fat phobia stuff and like you know, the body shaming was really bad, and it was just a bad time to be a woman, and especially to be a young girl. You know, it was just not a good time for society. I feel like now we've gotten a little bit better, like with accepting people's bodies and stuff like that. But I don't know. It was just a mess. But anyway, I never really hung out with people that much, and I wasn't out like that. So yeah. So then when I was, like I said, when I was 14, one day my mom, I'm trying to think, because I think at some point, like, I think I started walking home from school or something in middle school, because my mom used to pick me up, but that day, like, she didn't. And this was, like, towards the time around when I was graduating from junior high. So I was just sitting at home, and my mom came home from work, and she, I just remember sitting on the couch and her shutting the door, and she had this serious fucking look on her face. Usually my mom's not like serious like that, you know. Well, I don't know, but I could just tell something was up, and she was like, Angel, I need to talk to you. And I was like, well, what's going on, you know? And she was like, do you remember Amber? And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, like, of course I do, like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, she passed away. And I was like, well, what do you mean she passed away? And she was like, she had cancer. And I was like, well, what do you mean she had cancer? You know, like, it's not normal to just hear things about a friend from your past, you know. And she was like, yeah, her mom sent me an email. She passed away in April. She passed away, like, I think, like, very close to my birthday, like, maybe the week before my birthday. And she was sick, but they didn't know she was sick. So, I don't know, I guess, like, the way my mom explained it to me, and I kind of wish she didn't, because, like, it really did affect me in my life, and now, too, if I think about it. So, she said that Amber was feeling sick, like, she wasn't doing good, she was getting headaches a lot, and she was throwing up, and she couldn't understand why. I guess her mom had taken her to the hospital finally to figure out what was going on, and they gave her a blood test at the hospital, and they were like, it was either she didn't have any white blood cells or there was like too many or something, and then, like, they said you have to take her to Children's Hospital, so they took her to Children's Hospital, and then they ran tests, I guess, and they figured it out. I don't know, but, like, then she died that night. Like, I don't know. It sounds crazy. And I told my mom, like, that doesn't make sense, you know, I guess. She was like, yeah, that kind of stuff doesn't normally happen. And she told me that Amber's mom told her that these boys at school were supposed to tell me, and they never did. But she said that she always had my picture up in her house with her daughter, and you know, when Amber was older and her friends would come over and be like, who's that? And they would say, like, oh, that's Angel, you know. And that makes me sad. Cause, like, I wish I would have had her in my life. Like, I mean, who knows if we would have been friends, but so it was just messed up, and just remember, like, not, like, having, what is it called when you can't sleep? Insomnia, which I had before from my anxiety, and I just remember having it, and when I just was always so scared, like, it scared the fuck out of me. I thought that it was my turn to die after her, and I don't know, dude, like, I just got so scared. But what was I saying about the boys? Okay, so the boys were supposed to tell me. She had her neighbor was either Nico or Matt. I don't remember which one. Nico was the one that was like kind of cool. He was like a punk rock guy, you know, and he was actually like the first person I had ever seen that wore Ramones shirts and stuff like that. Because this was back in, like, you know, the mid 2000s. Nobody did that unless you were like into that music, you know. And I always thought he was cool because one time some guy was giving him shit in class for wearing a Ramones shirt, and he was like, "No, man, the Ramones are punk rock. Like, this is really cool." You know what I mean? And I was just like, "Oh, you know, he seems like he was a cool guy." But I just wish he would have told me about my friend. But it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't meant for me to find out that way, I guess, you know. I remember my mom taking me to the doctor too and being like, "I just don't understand. Like, she thinks she's gonna die. She thinks she's dying." And her best friend was Amber, the girl that was in the papers. And the doctor was just like, "Yeah, well, that was a medical mystery." That's what the doctor said, you know, it's a medical mystery. That doesn't just happen. We don't know how that happened. And I don't know, like, that makes me sad for, like, little Angel, like, to sit with that, like, that she lost her friend, her childhood best friend. And it also just makes me sad for her mom and, like, her brother. I remember hanging out with, like, her friends. So when I started high school, and then, like, I started hanging out with, she had a couple besties. I hung out with them a couple times. I think we went to Berkeley and, like, shit like that. Talking about Tumblr, right? And I just remember asking them, like, what she was like what she was into, and they said she liked punk rock, and I was like, that's cool. And her favorite band was this band that went to Alameda High, and I became friends with them. And so the 1 year anniversary of her death, like, I brought them to her mom had done this really nice memorial for her for the year after. And I brought them, and they performed, and they said some nice words because she was such a big fan of them. And it was so weird because I didn't even know until her friend was like, "Oh yeah, you know, she liked them." It was just wild. It's so crazy to think about too, because that was like 13 years ago or something. That was a long time. Excuse me, that was a long time ago. It's just like, it's a trip to look back and think about that, you know? My high school days. Like, high school is cool. Like, those years were good, you know? For the most part. But, that shit just, that was just sad. And I have to take a deep breath. This video is almost 20 minutes, but I swear I'm going to cut it in 2 more minutes. Wherever Amber is, or wherever her spirit is, I guess I should say, I just hope that she's doing well. I loved her, like, as a child, when we were kids. Like, I had a love for her, so. I didn't think that this affected me that much. until I was in Florida and I was in that bad marriage. And I went to see a therapist because I was depressed, but I thought that turns out I was depressed because, hello, I was getting abused, but I started talking to the therapist and she had asked me a question. She said, did you ever know anyone that died from cancer? And I said, yeah, I've known a couple people, but my best friend as a child died from it. And the doctor said something, and I was